I'm so excited to have Nicole here. Loved having her in our program. She was so amazing, so easy to work with. Like even on like the mastermind calls with me and things like that. So do you want to give everyone a little bit background, like why you decided to start your business and what led you into or like where you were at before you joined Rebel Energy Academy?
Yeah, sure. So I actually was in corporate for such a long time, and after getting laid off, not once, but
Mhm.
twice, I finally was just like, I have had it. Like, I need to just do something for myself, where like all this hard work and all these skills I have are actually like going towards something that's more meaningful and, really is just helping me feel like I'm fulfilling myself. So I found, your podcast, I found you, and really just resonated with everything you had to say, resonated with, the way that you operate and you help others. And after stalking you for a bit, I finally reached out and was like, let's just do it. Like, let's go. And didn't look back. And like, I'm so excited to have just grown and done REA 1.0 and 2.0 with you, and
Yeah.
have just landed where I'm at now. So
I love that. Well, and it's so funny too because I mean, gosh, that was like what, 7 months ago, I'm sure, like when you first did the 1.0. And we talked to so many people that sometimes I'm like, how did we connect? Like, I don't remember. So I love that you found the podcast. Guys, go listen to that if you guys are just needing to know a little bit more about me. But yeah, do you want to share a little bit like what you did at your corporate job? Like, did you have those transferable skills, or was it as like an OBM, or like what did you do?
So I worked in operations
Okay.
and doing training for like the training department for probably like a good 15 years
Okay.
almost. So tried climbing the corporate ladder, made my way into operations, doing like analytics, reporting, workflow processes, process creation, simplifying processes, creating SOPs, doing actual training, creating like I just blanked on the word, creating course content like curriculum for corporate, and like huge, like my company was very large. They had like over 2,000 employees, so I did it on a very large scale, so I had the transferable skills. But when you go from a corporate world into the online world and you're doing this huge jump,
Hmm.
even though you have the transferable skills, you have to remember you have to start somewhere. So even though I had this big bucket full of skills, I had to start at square one and just make sure like I built up in order to utilize those skills in the right way to where it got me now where I'm at.
Yeah, no, I love that because that's one thing we hear all the time too is like, what can I do? What does that look like? So I like to pinpoint on that question. So yeah, because I know it sounds bad. I don't even remember where you ended up after 1.0. So do you want to talk a little bit about what your experience was like in 1.0 and like where you ended up at?
So it's funny because I like Mary was my coach through 1.0. Mary
Yep.
on here, the absolute best. Like, love Mary to death. She rooted me on. She kept me accountable. She helped me push through so many roadblocks I was having, helped me believe in myself. Because, again, like I said, it's one thing to like be used to being in the corporate world and knowing like you have a voice as you're in these meetings talking to these people, even though sometimes it falls upon deaf ears.
Yeah.
But going into the online world where you're literally like a fish in this big vast sea of everyone who's like trying to go at it, in the same way as you are, you definitely can drown in that sea. And that's where I found you guys to give me my little life raft to figure out how to swim against the tide and actually stand out.
Hmm.
And that's where 1.0 really helped me because I learned how to do everything, how to manage my business, how to start my LLC, start, everything, and be able to do the things correctly in the online world. And it's funny because, as you know, Jade, I finished 1.0 and had zero
Hmm.
clients. So I had planted so many seeds, like literally thousands of seeds, and none of them had like sprouted yet. So they were right there. And instead of giving up, I just kept pushing forward. And once I got into 2.0, I was like, let's just do it because I knew I was right there. Like I was at the tipping point and was just like, let me run for 2.0 and see where I land. And that's what helped me scale up to doing the OBM stuff because I knew I had that. And yes, the VA stuff was great. Like I made tons of connections And some of those connections actually led me into the clients I have now, who are my high paying clients, because I learned how to better sell myself and scale what I knew how to do and skill the skills I actually had that were
Yeah.
transferable, but I was just waiting to get to that point to be able to like act on it, you know?
Yeah.
And once those seeds started sprouting and blooming, and I was able to actually have that confidence to now really dive into telling these people, like, this is what your problem is, this is how I can help you, and really leaning into that and feeling that confidence, I was
Yeah.
able to keep pushing forward and left 2.0 with 3 clients, and then like other, you know, little clients for like setups for automations, Dubsado, things like that as well.
Yeah.
But like my actual ongoing clients that are like my solid clients was 3 clients. And I think the biggest thing is, um, you know, I was always like feeling defeated because I'm like, oh, like I want to sell this package that has 60 hours or like
Mhm.
40 hours or 80 hours. But everyone kept only wanting my small packages of 20 hours a month. And I'm like, oh, please, like just take this big package. Like you need it. I know you need it.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing that you and Mary, and even Emily, because Emily also was a big cheerleader for me in 2.0, taught me is, even though it's a small client, if you prove your worth to that small client, those small clients will build into bigger long-term clients. And that's exactly what happened for me.
Yeah. No, and that's why I was like so excited as well too, because well, before we get into that,
Yeah.
because that I have that on my list. I'm like, I want to talk about that because I was, you probably saw my stories. That was something that I talked about, and it was perfect timing too, because we talked about the client experience, and even the call that I was on, I took my son to the doctor appointment, and then we were running late. I had a call with my co-coaches this morning. We meet every Monday, but then we meet. We're just starting to implement this too, of like better helping like teacher co-coaches, like they're staying up to date with like new strategies that like I'm learning from my business and my coach to get you guys better results. That was one thing that we talked about, like that was our whole subject this morning, was client experience. And so your name was one of the ones that were brought up, because when people reinvest, right, like they invest in 1.0, and when they reinvest, we looked at it and it was like 50-50. Like half the people that decide to reinvest for 2.0, they didn't get any clients, or they got like one or two small clients,
Mm-hmm.
or they got amazing results and they're like ready to keep building the momentum. So we were looking at like, what do you guys feel like is the reason why they want to reinvest? And they were like, the client experience. We like literally went through and everything. So do you want to walk through? Because like obviously you talked about, right, working with Mary, which Mary hopped on right after you gave her a shout out, but like I know you loved
Nice.
working with Mary.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, tell me a little bit of like, you said you felt like you were building that momentum,
Mm-hmm.
but like what made you decide to like invest with us and like not go reinvest in somebody else?
I think just because your transparency around everything of, you know, a lot of these other programs, I noticed they're like, oh, like we guarantee this, we guarantee that. But like you were always up front of like, yes, like you guarantee it
Yeah.
if we put in the work. And that's the biggest thing, is that other people don't tell you that with the other programs. And like I have other friends who own their businesses too. And like I have a bookkeeper friend who literally did like 3 different programs and all of them fell very short. And she just felt like, and I mean, she was going to go with you, but she was a bookkeeper, not like a VA or OBM.
Mm-hmm.
But she even like recommended you strongly because she's like, out of everyone I see, like Jade's whole setup is so transparent, and like you believe in everybody, you're honest about it, you help the results that we get, because it's
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, we have our coaches all the time, and it's like, I tried this, and these didn't work, but this did. So you guys are constantly there to help us pivot and figure out what's working and what's not. And like,
Yeah.
even if it's something you guys have never seen, and I came to Mary with some crazy ideas, and she's like, let's go for it. Like, let's do it. You know, I trust you. I believe in you. If you think you can do it, let's go for it.
Yeah.
And it worked, you know, it really did. And I think the biggest thing is just the fact that, you know, you're don't have that closed mind where you guys don't think that, you know, if it doesn't fall in XYZ, like it's unheard of and it can't be done.
Yeah.
You guys are always willing to learn while we're learning. And I think that's one of the biggest things that helped me want to invest in 2.0, is because I knew that I'd have that support.
Yeah.
And I definitely did, to where I got to where I'm at now.
Yeah. No, I love that. And that means a lot too. Thank you so much. Cause I think too, like the reason, just so you guys watching, like why I'm so transparent is because it literally makes me feel more grateful because again, like we bring in, oh my God, well over 1,000 new leads every single month. And one of the things I hear is like, well, I invested in this. And I'm like, okay, like, why do you think that didn't work? Well, they said if I invested, like, I would just make one of my favorite one, not favorite, because it's sad, but they're like, well, it's the same thing. Like, well, she said like in 3 months I'd make 10K. And I'm like, we've literally in the 5 years that I've been coaching, we've had one person do that. And that's because she already like had a VA business beforehand. Like
Mhm.
she was doing it for like 7 years. And I'm
Mm.
like, that's one person. You know what I mean? And I'm like, not to say like not to say I don't believe in you, like you can't do that, but like I'm just very, very again transparent of like
Yeah.
we've never seen that. And they have to come invest again. So we definitely, yeah, we want to support you, but we never want to like we're not gonna lie to you to get a fucking sale at all. So no, I love that. But yeah, so let's dig into so left 1.0, dynamic clients, we felt the momentum building, decided to reinvest with us. Um, and I remember on that call, right, the mastermind call, because we were in the middle of moving. So I was like sitting on my fucking
Your
floor
floor.
doing this call because we didn't have a couch. We were like
Yeah.
literally moving. That's why I remember it so clearly because I'm like sitting on the floor. But I remember you had a client and you had upped your package with her. And I just remember you saying like, why the like you were like, I'm not looking at it as like I'm trying to make more money off her. Like she needs these hours. And you were like, why? And I think you said your boyfriend, right? Was like,
Husband.
why don't
Yeah.
you just go offer husband?
Yeah.
Yeah, like why don't you just go offer it?
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to tell
He's like, what do you have
us
to
about
lose?
that?
Yeah, he's like, the worst thing you have to do is she'll say no, and like she's still my client. So yeah, it took a couple months of really like understanding what she had going on in order to really be able to give that valuable feedback to her. So,
Yeah.
as like I said, as much as I wanted her to be like, let's do 80 hours, like let's just freaking run for it, that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
And I had to really get into the nitty gritty of all her processes, everything she's got going. And for that first client, I'm her social media manager. So I'm still her social media manager. And she's actually now talking about bumping me up to her OBM. So even more hours coming from her.
Hmm.
But the biggest thing is providing the value and showing, because anyone can say they can do something, but you got to show that you can do it. And that was the biggest thing is showing up and looking at everything she had going, seeing what worked for her, what didn't work for her, what she had been doing, what she wasn't doing, and like sitting down and writing a bunch of notes about it and then presenting it to her on a call like, hey, I see that this and this is going on. They're not getting you the results you're wanting, or like, maybe this is taking too much of your energy and time and it could be focused elsewhere to help you, and really showing that you understand them, their business, and you're not in it for the money. You're in it for giving them that support. You're in it for being their own cheerleader. You're in it for helping them succeed because, well, they're succeeding, you're also succeeding at the same time in your own business. So it's honestly just growing with each other. And that's what I've told all my clients is we're growing together.
You're
Like
a team
this
member, not an employee.
100%. Like, yeah, like I'm contracted. You're not like hiring me like I have to report to you. You're my boss. Like we've got this micromanaged relationship. It's more so of you've got these ideas and you want to bounce them off of somebody and see if they make sense or not. And that's exactly like what I'm great at helping with, and being the cheerleader with, I could have a client who's just like in a huge slump right now and trying to be her cheerleader and help her come up with new innovative ideas. And that's the biggest thing is being able to not just embrace those first few skills as like a VA, but go beyond that and give more than that, because that's where they see your value. And that's where they start to be like, okay, I'm going to invest in you more because I see what you've done. You understand me. You understand my business. You're making my ideas come to life. This is what I've needed. Like, I just got told I was the missing puzzle piece that they didn't realize
Oh,
they needed. And I was like, oh, this is seriously the best thing I've ever heard.
yeah.
And yeah, it's,
And you're like the expert that like they
mm,
trust you. Like on the 2.0 mastermind call that I did yesterday, one of my client, like, yeah, she's making over $4,000 a month, but she's letting go of her client who is a $2,100 a month package. And she's like, he will not which also guys, he's a local client and he's a real estate agent. So like that's why I was like, that's why I preach that, because I see this all the fucking time of like real estate agents are usually not ideal. And guess why? because you listen to my podcast, you know, he's micromanaging her. He doesn't trust her. He doesn't want to delegate. He wants to like hover and whatever. But and so she's like, but again, right? She has that confidence now in 2.0 where she's like, I know I can go find a more ideal client, but if you're not going to trust me and like look at me as a team member, like
Mhm.
he has like real estate. So like he's paying her $2,100 a month to like go make calls to like the plumber and shit when like things are not going right, like in a rental. And she's like, this is not like she sees herself more as value. She's like, yeah, like it's an easy $2,100 a month, but like right? Like I'm an expert. Like you're not utilizing my skills. And so that's the biggest thing because even like that client, right? Like what you were saying, like in 1.0 you learned like how to onboard clients, like what that looks like, but now you're you're the missing fucking puzzle piece to their business and you were charging. So like let's talk a little bit about
Sure.
that. Because you were charging $65 an hour as an OBM, right?
Now I am.
60,
Yeah.
65.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So now are you still doing like the hourly? Are you doing more of like a blanket package or like what does that look like?
No, I'm still doing the hourly just because like that's what they've signed up for initially and that's what we're keeping it as. But my client that bumped up to the 80 hours, we are talking about doing kind of like a blanket package type deal because they potentially may want more hours now. They offered me a full-time job and I was like,
Yeah, don't
no, I
put
don't
all
want
your eggs in
this.
one
Like,
basket.
no. Y'all can keep me how I am. I don't want to be like tied to my desk all day. I don't want to. No, I don't want it.
Yeah.
So like we're gonna figure something out in the beginning of the year because right now they're just want to roll with the 80 hours until January and then kind of figure out from there because they do want more hours, but they're like, realistically, like once you start getting into, needing 90 to 100 hours at $65 an hour, like that's a lot of money that they're investing in someone. So, at that point, it's kind of like, oh, like I could feel the resistance coming from them. And that's where it's like the time to start figuring out kind of like what the blanket is going to look like. Um, but I'm going to cross that bridge when I get there. So I'll probably reach out to you about
I was
that
gonna
on the
say
side. Yeah.
this is like I mean,
Mm,
obviously I can help you too. But yeah, send me and Kara like a joint
mm,
message and we can talk through that because it can get a little bit tricky if you don't have like the right boundaries set in place.
yeah.
And Kara has done like OBM. I
Hmm.
call her my COO. Like she's basically I'm like, this is basically your business too. But yeah, we do something similar. So
Okay.
yeah, anyway, send us a message and we'll
Hmm.
walk you through that so you don't screw yourself on that and like
Yeah.
again
Thank
tie to
you.
your desk and like capped in your income but
Yeah. So
um
I started at 30, it's like 30, 35 an hour as a VA and then really started seeing my worth. So just kept it going. And, Emily helped me really just be like, fuck this. Like, I know I can give you this help. I know all the skills I possess. I know how much worth I bring to you. Let's just do it. And oh, I swear, when I first signed a client at that rate, like I was literally in so much shock for like a good couple hours. So I was like, holy shit, like they just said yes and it
the
was at $65,
$65 an hour.
$70 an hour. Like, what? It's hard to believe, especially when like I was battling for 25-cent raises in my corporate job and not getting bonuses and dealing with all that shit. And I was like, no, like this isn't for me. And this has been the best change I've ever done because like yeah, it started out slow, but the biggest thing is just don't give up because it's there. Like
Yeah,
it's there. You just have to wait for it. And now, I know I could raise my rates even more, but I'm like, I'm in a good, happy spot. Like I'm comfortable. My clients are happy. I'm happy. We've got a good agreement. And, I don't second guess myself. I don't doubt myself, and neither do they. So they don't even bat an eye. Like all of them auto pay unless like I have to go over hours or something. Then I just send them a side invoice, and they're just like, sure, no biggie, take
yeah.
it, run the thing. Like they don't even care, and it's crazy because there's a lot of people who are saying like, oh, the market's oversaturated. These people don't want to pay, the economy, the this, the that, but like people are still running businesses. They're still growing
We had
businesses.
our
They're
highest
still
income
starting
month
businesses.
August and
Mhm.
then again in September.
Mhm.
So yeah, like I agree with you. I'm like, and then right, like that's why we do is kind of case studies because I'm like, obviously, right, like I don't want to be one of those coaches that's like blowing smoke. Like I want them to hear from you guys of like, no, but like in the DMs, I hear that a lot of like, well, I'm booked out, and I'm like, okay, but I'm working like 50 hours a week, and like I'm only making $3,000. Okay, well, let's break it down. And then I'm like, well, why are you only charging 25 bucks? Well, like that's all they're willing to pay. And I'm like, no, like let me go connect you with one of my clients because like they're making 5K and working 30 hours a
Yep.
week, whatever. So do you want to, and then yes, to answer your question too, Teresa, she was new working at 9 to 5, right? Found my podcast and then just like dove in with 1.0, and you didn't have any prior experience, right? As a VA and before you
No.
joined 1.0? Yeah. Okay. But that was one of the questions that she had. So do you want to break down a little bit for everybody? Oh, and then also too, to touch on that, like, yeah, so you had 3 clients and then you got to 7,200 by, right, like showing your value that you have to your client and getting them on a higher package,
Yep.
obviously, because they want to hire you full time too.
Yep.
So you want to break down like about how many hours a week that you work,
30.
bringing in that $7,200?
30 hours.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Don't go over 30 hours.
No,
You
I
guys
refuse
don't have to.
to. Yeah, so I am booked out now, with just the 3 clients, and that's the thing is like sometimes it's better to have less clients with them doing more hours versus a whole shit ton of like small client or like a bunch of clients with little hours. So that's why I'm always like, don't shy away from taking those little clients on when they're signing, the smallest package. Like they'll grow. And yeah, so now with my 3 clients, I have an 80-hour client, a 20-hour client, and another 20-hour client. So that's 120 hours a month, and 30 hours a week. But like one of my clients, they're more top heavy in the beginning of the month and then it kind of fizzles out. So it's not even necessarily like 30 hours a week every week because it really can fluctuate and vary, but they're still getting the hours in. So it's not like I'm sitting at my desk 30 hours every single week. Like there's times I may be working 15 hours a week and I'm just done and I get to hang out with my family and be present again and volunteer at my daughter's school, and I'm taking
I
my
love
daughter to
that.
the children's museum every week. And like there's just so many great things I'm able to do with my free time now, and I love it.
It makes me so happy. Oh yeah, and do you want to share? Because like it's the same thing that was like my thing when I started my VA business. I'm like, I want to go to fucking Disney World.
Yeah.
Um, and when Emily sent me that, I think it was last week, right?
two,
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Um, yeah, and you guys know, like I'm an emotional person. I'm gonna tear up now, but I was like I feel that so much. It might sound like so dumb, right? Because like I see other people like they can take their kids to Disney World, but like I never got to do that as a kid. And so getting to do that last year, and I'm like tearing up, but like I was like bawling, like when we finally got there and like seeing my kids' faces like light up and like get to meet the characters, like I don't know, like for that to me, I'm like I feel like I was more excited for you sending that message than like seeing the $7,200 a month
Yeah.
because like as a mom, I get what that means of like getting to make those memories.
Yeah.
So
And that's what it's honestly about. Like it's awesome to have the financial stability that like we did not have before.
mhm.
And like my husband took a very heavy load while I've been, because last month was a whole year that I was unemployed from being laid off, and I just had to run with it. And he took a lot of the weight, and he's such a big supporter for me. But actually hitting that mark, like yes, it's great for the financial stability, but for us, we're like, we get this free time, and that's what means the most. You can't put a dollar amount on like the time you have with your kids and your family, and like
Yeah.
the mental health, and like just even like my overall health. That was a big thing I was telling Emily too. Like the stress that corporate gave to me was like unheard of, and now I can feel after a year like that stress has dissipated. My mental health is better, my overall health is getting better, and the financial stability is awesome, but it's the other things that come with it that are the best part,
Yeah.
and which push me forward even more. So
And like I've been seeing this thing. I need to like look it up, but like I keep seeing like mom rage. And I'm like, which I don't even know, like, but I'm like, okay, I don't even know what like technically like really what that means, but like right, like I think back to like when I was at corporate, like having to drop my newborn son off at like daycare, like I had mom rage. Like I remember like
mm-hmm.
speeding and doing 80 to like get him from daycare. I'm like, okay, if I speed, like I'll get 5 extra minutes with him, and like a total of like an hour and a half before bedtime. Like
which is
So yeah, yeah, which is like so crazy. But so Teresa, to answer your question, she joined. When did you? I mean, it's got to be like
March.
7 months,
It
right?
was in
Since you,
March, yeah.
yeah, March.
Mhm.
So yeah, about 7 months since she joined 1.0. And then when did you hit the 7,200? It was like
Just a
right
couple weeks
after.
ago.
Yeah, it was
No,
like
it was a
right
few weeks
after
ago.
you
Yep.
got done with 2.0.
Yep.
So about 6 months, which
Yeah.
is so crazy because if you
Mhm.
guys like, and we talk about this too, and again, like I'm not blowing smoke up your ass, like we talk about like building that momentum. Like Emily R is another good one where like I think she left 1.0 with like no clients, and we did like a week extension with her, and then like that week is when she got like two or three, because like we as coaches too, we can kind of see it. You sensed it, right? The momentum of
Yep.
like, okay, I need to keep going. So guys, like even if you guys don't see, like obviously we want you to get results, right?
Mhm.
Like as quickly as possible, but like also too, I always say like give yourself at least a solid like 6 to even 9 months
Mhm.
to really look and see what you can do. Because if you quit after 1.0 or like fuck it, I'm gonna back to 9 to 5, like right? Like when you start to push that boulder, like once you get it over the other like end, like it all
It
comes to
goes. It
you.
all
Yeah,
falls into place. Yeah, it's crazy how it worked. It really is.
I know.
And it's hard to believe. It's hard to keep. And that's where Mary and, Emily and some of the other girls in the group also like kept me going because, you get a hundred no's when you're, reaching out and doing the 3-2-1 and like trying to, make things work with these people. And like I've done in-person networking events. I was doing messaging. I was literally doing everything possible and was getting so many no's, but like I'm like every single no I get is another step closer to a yes that I'm going to get. So I just kept going, and once I started getting the yeses, I was like, holy shit, like this is actually working for me, and just did not give up. And I'm just so happy with the support I had in my corner, because that's the biggest thing is,
Yeah,
it's so easy to just be like, this isn't working, I'm done. But like, it's a good investment, and you got to remember you're investing in yourself, you're investing in what you're choosing, and you chose to do this for a reason. So like, why would you quit after a couple months of it just not working? Like, you got to keep going. And that's
yeah,
what Emily and Mary and even you would tell me all the time, is just keep going. And I did, and you were right.
yeah. And you guys like don't see it, but like I said, like we do, like we like us as co-coaches, like we meet, we talk behind the scenes, we're like, okay, what can we do? Or we're like, I mean, even like Kara, for example, like she brought on one of her clients, she's like, oh, like she was one of those people that made like, I don't want to say a bad investment, but like was lied to, literally like basically scammed. And so we like we're like, oh, like we want it so bad for you
Mhm.
guys, especially when we hear stories like that. And so like Kara went and hired her on her own business, and it boosted her confidence, and like now she's booked out, like I've brought her onto our team as well too. So we really do like cheer for you, and like even brainstorm on the back end of like, do we know anyone we can send to them just to like get them one client? So no, we're super excited, we're super super proud of you, and definitely still stay in touch, like I said, message us, all that good stuff. But
Yeah.
is there any like parting words or like words of wisdom if someone's like on the fence right now to like hop into Rebel Energy Academy?
um just do it. Seriously, like if you're thinking about it and you've gone this far and you're, following along, listening to Jade, like just do it. It's worth trying, because, I didn't think I'd be in this spot a year ago, and now here I am, and it's, just it's crazy to think of.
Yeah,
And just believe in yourself, because you're capable of anything. Like if you set your mind to it, you set your heart to it, and you change your mindset and keep that mindset positive, like you can honestly just manifest and grow anything in your life if you choose to. So just believe in yourself. That's the biggest thing.
yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
love that. I love the mindset piece because it's so, so important. So thank you so much, Nicole. I
Yeah.
appreciate your time so much, and definitely like keep us in the loop. We want to hear the wins and help you with that client too, and
Yes.
restructure that. So
Yeah.
I'll
Awesome.
talk to you soon.
Thanks, Jade.
Thanks, Nicole. Bye.
Bye.